careful now. Oh, did it?
Price it over on the other side here then.
Huh?
I'll price it over on the other side here, Ron and I'll.
That's a picture of it.
Which picture? That was at the funeral home.
Yeah, where he's smiling like that.
Yeah, it's a good picture, yes. I'm gonna have to sneak over there.
We'll just go down somewhere and take a walk.
That reason to do it, I don't remember this one. There we go.
Where you going up there?
I need to be over here at the end.
You need the end.
Does she want to scoot down?
We want her there.
Does she want to sit there? Would you like the boys to sit on the other
That's
side
fine
of
if you'd
you?
like to. Sit over there. I need to get them all in.
Jim, you want to sit on the other side of it?
There, that's good. That's a good one.
I'll sit here. You want to sit between us?
which art in heaven, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is Give us this day and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory
We want to welcome each of you who have come to help us celebrate the life of Don Shifley. Don was a wonderful person. He was a person who loved the Lord, he loved his family, he loved his friends, and he dearly loved his church. We hope that our time together today will be a source of comfort to each of you. And following the committal, we're going to do what we like to do best here at Windfall. We're going to eat. So following the committal, we invite all of you to come back and come downstairs to our fellowship hall and have a time of eating, fellowshipping with one another, and just enjoy the day. Because I can tell you, Don was a person who always enjoyed the day, and he enjoyed activities. June is going to come and lead us this time. In your bulletin is a flyer, and it has a song, Did You Think to Pray? And this was Don's favorite hymn, so please sing out well. Let us all sing, Did You Think to Pray?
in the your way. Oh, how pray and rest the weary. Prayer will change the night to day. So in sorrow and in gladness, don't forget to pray. When some trials came upon you, did you think to pray? When your soul was drowned in sorrow, balm of Gilead did you borrow at the gates of day? Oh, how pray and rest the weary. Prayer will change your night to day. So in sorrow and in gladness, don't forget to pray.
Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 says this: to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace.
I want us to think for a few minutes this morning about who was Don Shifley. Don was a person with a big heart, a big smile, and he was a person who loved to tease. He would, I think that must be where Jim gets it. Now that I think about it. But he would tease, and then he would have this certain little glitter in his eye. If you look at his picture, I thought it was pretty ironic that the funeral director put his picture right there where Don could look over at me playing the piano and like keeping me straight this morning. Don was a man who would give the shirt off of his back to help anyone who had a need. To the late Claudius and Edith Shifley, he was a son that was born to them on June the 20th, 1926. Don made them proud because he graduated from high school, and he made them proud when he was serving his country in the United States Army during World War II in Germany and Holland. And that was a part of Don's life that was very difficult for him to talk about, because Don had a tender spirit, and to see and help to transport the people who had been killed there in the service and in battle was very difficult. But he was also very proud to show you his wooden shoes from Holland. And one time we had an old-fashioned day here at church, and he thought he would be smart. He brought an antique tractor and parked out in the yard, and he wore his wooden shoes. Well, he found out that as he aged, the wooden shoes wasn't so comfortable as they were when he had got them over in Holland. To Marie Belsing and the late Luella Ernst and Robert, Richard, Herbert, and Wilbur Shifley, he was a brother that they loved. He was a brother who enjoyed getting together with them at family reunions. And that was one thing that Don was very good about. Each year when they would have their family reunion on a Sunday at Heisey Park, he would go get his bucket of chicken from Kentucky Fried Chicken and head to the reunion to see what had happened with everybody during that past year. To his wife, Pauline, he was a faithful husband. He was the father of their 3 children, and sometimes Pauline blamed him for the way the 3 kids act. They were just like their father. And he worked hard to provide for his family. He worked very hard. Don met Pauline at Christian Endeavor. And one night at a skating party, Don asked Pauline if he could take her home. Then he asked her, he was very mannerly, then he asked her if he could start dating her. Before long, Don decided he was going to ask Pauline to marry him. But he did it in a rather unique way. Now, Pauline was raised in town. Don was raised on the farm. And Don knew that he wasn't going to leave the farm no matter how much he loved Pauline. So instead of the normal proposal of getting down on your knee and, handing you a ring and asking her to marry him, he didn't do any of that. Instead, his proposal was, are you willing to quit your job at Galleon Arm Works, move to the farm, and marry me? If not, I guess we won't get married. Only Don would do it that way. Well, I'm not sure Pauline knew just what she was getting herself into, but she said yes. And it's really turned out pretty well. They were married on April the 19th, 1953, and they enjoyed 66 years of marriage together. Now, Pauline found out that being married to Don could be interesting and that there was never a dull moment. Number one, Don was like the pickiest eater on the face of this earth.
I think I got it beat.
Everything that she would want to fix for him, I don't like that. I'm not going to eat that. And he didn't. Now, Pauline liked pizza. Don wasn't going to have anything to do with pizza. Pauline liked spaghetti. Well, you just go right ahead and fix it and eat it if you want to, but don't give any to me. And he didn't like salad. And nobody was going to change his mind. When we would have spaghetti suppers here at our church for Valentine's, Linda would always try to twist Don's arm into coming. Well, I don't like salad and I'm not eating spaghetti. So Linda would say, just come and I'll fix you something else.
Oh.
So she went to all this trouble to fix this homemade chicken pot pie for Don and applesauce. Don sat there at the spaghetti dinner picking out the vegetables from the chicken pot pie. So you couldn't win. The other thing was, Pauline never knew when Don was coming in for dinner. Never. She never knew what field he was in. And he continued to buy more cows, and he continued to farm more people's land. So Pauline would fix this really nice dinner, fixing the stuff that Don liked, and she would have it ready to serve, and she would wait and wait and wait. And Don would come in, and his excuse was, well, I had some cows to take care of, or a calf was born. I had planning to do, or I was putting up hay. Well, Pauline learned that she wasn't going to change him, so she just kept the food on the burner, waiting on him. Pauline learned to adjust and to be a farmer's wife, and all went well. And Pauline had to do the adjusting because Don, as sweet as he was also stubborn. And it was going to be Don's way. But even though she loved him and she would wait for him to come. Now, the other thing that we all know was that Don never did his Christmas shopping until Christmas Eve. And we had to have our Christmas Eve service at 9 o'clock at night to give Don enough time to go buy Pauline's Christmas gift. And that never changed. And I would say to Don as he would come to sing in the choir, "Did you get our gift?" "I just got it." "Oh, this is Christmas Eve, 9 o'clock at night." "Well, it's still not the 25th, he'd say. That's the way it went. To Tom, Jim, and Ron, he was Dad. He was a dad that didn't believe in sparing the rod and spoiling the child, but instead, he believed in teaching his boys how to obey and how to be respectful of others. And the most important part was, even though Don was busy with farming, he was a dad who made sure that all three of his boys were in church every time the doors were open. And he taught them about Jesus. He didn't just take them to church, but him and Pauline together spent time teaching their sons how to love the Lord. And that's why today all three of them are in church. And he was a dad who loved them with all of his heart. But he was also a dad who taught them how to work. He taught them as a young age how to do chores and how to work on the farm. Now, I'm also told that he taught Tom and Jim how to drive tractor when they were young. Well, he sort of taught them. According to Jim, their dad took him out to the tractor and he said, "This is how you start the tractor. This is how you steer the tractor. Now get on it and get some work done." To his daughter-in-laws, Gloria, Kathy, and Deanna, he was someone who accepted them and loved them as though they were his own. But because he accepted them and loved them as his own, he teased them and pulled pranks on them as well, and would give them a rough way to go. Well, after all, he wanted them to feel like they were part of the family, and that's the way he was, so just get used to it. To his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and his great-great-grandchildren, he was a loving and a proud grandfather. Nothing made Don happier than spending time with his family. He loved birthday celebrations. He loved holiday celebrations. He enjoyed trips to the Amish country. And he was always ready to go to the Dear Dutchman in Belleville. Well, almost ready to go. Many times he would insist on wearing his coveralls to go to dinner. And Pauline would say, "You need to change clothes." And he would say, "Why? I have 2 pairs of coveralls, my work coveralls and my good coveralls, and I've got my good ones on. So let's get in the car and let's go." And he would go in his coveralls to eat. To his nieces and his nephews, he was an uncle who always took interest in their lives. He enjoyed finding out what they were doing and just visiting with them. To his neighbors and his friends, he was someone who cared about them, and he was always willing to lend a helping hand. He was also willing to share his vegetables and his apples with his friends. Yes, let's talk about his vegetables and his apples. Many times, I was on the receiving end of his gifts. And I would come home and there would be this huge head of cabbage on my porch. And I can tell you that Don Shifley raised the largest heads of cabbage I've ever seen in my life. And I had to learn how to do things with that cabbage. Well, that was okay. Then I would come home from work and there would be bags. And I mean bagfuls of his apples on my porch, because he knew I liked apples and I liked to make applesauce. But there were bags. And I would say to him, one time I said to him, I don't know how I'm ever going to get all of those bags of apples cooked. I said that here at church. That Sunday, it was on a Sunday, after church was over, my doorbell rang, and there was Don and Pauline. And I said, wow, come in, what are you here for? Well, somebody's got to help you put those apples up. Now, Pauline had enough apples that she felt like she was drowning in apples. But Don brought Pauline and their paring knives to help do my apples. To his church, he was a faithful member through the years, not only giving financially to the work of the Lord, but he also gave of himself. He served on the church council as a deacon. He served as elder. He served as a Sunday school teacher. When Lloyd and I first took the church here, Don was teaching the adult Sunday school class, and he sung in the choir. He had a beautiful bass voice. Don's favorite hymn was the song that we opened with this morning, Did You Think to Pray? And oftentimes he would say to me at choir practice, could we sing the song Sunday, Did You Think to Pray? You see, the words of that song were personal to Don because he believed in prayer. And he believed that when he had a problem or a need, that all he needed to do was to go to Jesus in prayer, and that Jesus was going to help him and see him through. And Don's testimony right up to the dying day was that Jesus never failed me yet. For 93 years, Jesus has never failed me. Don also enjoyed helping with the Easter sunrise breakfast that the men do each year. Now that was fun, except for the year that Don insisted he was fixing pancakes for everybody to go with the eggs and the sausage. So here was Don, all dressed up in his suit. We'd just done the Easter choir program, and Don goes downstairs to start mixing up batter to cook pancakes with. Now, he did not mix the batter ahead of time. He was in our little kitchen mixing up pancake batter. And he was in the way of Jim, who was trying to fry the sausage, Bill Bergen, who was trying to scramble eggs, and Mike, who was baking biscuits. But he never understood why the guys had a problem with him doing pancakes. Don was also a prayer warrior. When you had a need, you knew that if you shared it with Don, he was going to pray about it, and he was going to the Lord in prayer. Don also loved the Word of God. He studied his Word, the Bible. And when he would come to